So recently on social media, a young Kenyan lady released a video, I believe it was on Instagram or on Twitter, where she basically was crying throughout the video and describing an experience where she was sexually assaulted, I believe by someone who was close to her. Now that video caused a huge uproar, and there was of course a lot of people, you know, with the hashtag #MeToo movement who are talking about how they had been sexually assaulted by people that they know, and about how sexual assault is so prevalent in our society, and it's something that we don't talk enough about and we don't know enough about. Yeah. And then in response to that, there was also a video by Mike Wachira, which we've watched it, right? Yeah. And he was basically responding by saying it's shocking the fact that almost everyone that he knows someone who has been sexually assaulted. And I think we all, it's like almost every woman that I know has been sexually assaulted. Yeah. And so we thought it would be great for us to come and have a discussion about it. What is it? How does it happen? Have you been sexually assaulted? Talk about our own experiences and basically just clue us all up so that we are all, I guess, at a better place to know, identify, and know how to deal with sexual assault. So let's start with just the definition. What do you guys think sexual assault is?
I feel sexual assault is anybody like coming even within you in any space without your consent. Yeah. Because even somebody showing you, like revealing their D to you without your consent is still sexual assault. Yeah. So in anything where I'm not partaking and it's sexual, it's sexual assault.
Yeah, I like that. Because like, you know, at first I didn't think about like if someone just exposes themselves to you, that's still an assault as well. Exactly. In my mind, you always think that someone has to do something to you without your permission or against, like, you know, where it's not consensual. But like, I like that.
Yeah. Exactly. So basically what the general standard definition of sexual assault is any unwanted sexual behavior that makes a person feel uncomfortable, threatened, or scared. And I feel like the key thing that you mentioned is about consent. It's like something which you have not agreed to take part in, you have not agreed to be a part of, and obviously because of that, it makes you feel uncomfortable. If you don't feel uncomfortable, then I guess it doesn't count as sexual assault, even if you haven't consented, right?
I think so,
because the fact that you don't, you know, are not wanting to be a part of it. So there are different kinds of sexual assault. So I'll just read through the list. We have rape, which is obviously, you know, intercourse where the other person has not agreed to have sex with you. There is forcible sodomy, which is, you know, like male, yes.
No, even you.
Or even
if somebody
or if
goes
it's from the back. Okay, fine. Then there's forcible object penetration. I believe that speaks for itself. There's marital rape. Yeah. There's unwanted sexual touching. There's sexual contact with minors. There's incest. And then there's any unwanted or coerced sexual contact. Yeah. So basically just like anything which is in any way even remotely smells of like sex, you know, that is, you know, I guess what we are referring to, right? Yeah. So before we have our own discussion, I think we should read what the Kenyan law says about it so that we're speaking from like a point of knowledge. Yeah.
I'm not going to read too much into it because like the language of the law as well is just like weird. But essentially there's the Sexual Offences Act in 2006 was enacted to ensure victims of sexual offenses get justice commensurated with the harm they suffer. So among the sexual offenses that the Act prohibits are defilement. Defilement is some penetration. To attempted defilement. So if you try to sexually assault someone, even though you don't succeed, that's still illegal. Rape to attempted rape, sexual harassment, and sexual exploitation. The law includes the definitions of different types of sexual offenses. This is public information, so if you want to know, it's like the Sexual Offences Act 2006. It also, another fun fact is that this is the first act that actually made sexual assault a crime in this country. Brief. We can discuss that later. Also, minors are dealt with differently. The way I would be dealt with and the way a minor would be are very different because a minor, I need consent because I'm over 18. But a minor, whether or not they consent, so if somebody is 21 years old and they are with a high school person, whether or not she is consenting, that's still assault.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it as that.
Exactly.
But yeah, the definitions are like in legal terms. I know. So essentially is the ones which we just said.
That is, I find it so crazy that it's 2006, literally 14 years ago, that it actually became a crime. That's ridiculous. And I think that is why so many of us now in the hashtag #MeToo movement are able to actually come and talk about it because so many of the things that maybe growing up, you're just like, okay, I guess it's normal. Like an uncle can just touch your boobs, I guess, you know, and like you don't think anything about it. Now is when you're like, actually, no, I was sexually assaulted. Do you guys have any like memory that you can share of an experience that you've had that in hindsight you're like, actually, that was sexual assault?
Yeah. I have one. Like, you know what's so funny? Like, I was just like, yeah, I can talk about this or whatever. And I could literally feel my heart like go like, you know, yeah, which is so crazy. But like, yeah, mine like what happened like a little bit like later on in life. I think I was like what, 20, 21, and it was like from like a family member that was like a really, really, really close family member, you know. And like I think and you know what's funny like about sexual assault, when like I think when you're a little bit older and it's like from somebody that's like closer to you, like first of all, one, you freeze, two, you still love that person, so like there's that thing of like you're trying to protect them, you know what I mean? So like now like when I finally told my mom and everything, like literally like 24 hours later, I told her, and I felt like I was like betraying that person by telling like on them, you know what I mean? And like, and the craziest thing is like, okay, there's the African thing of like, now you've said this has happened, she's dealt with that person, whichever way she dealt with it, I don't know how she dealt with it, but like we're still like family, and the African way is like we're still gonna hang out, we're still gonna talk, we're still gonna do whatever it is that we do, and there's nothing you can do about it, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's so dysfunctional and crazy that like, yeah, you know this has happened, but like it's like, you know, we talked about it and they've said they're not going to do this anymore, and now we're still going to be hanging around with them and talking to them, and it's just like awkward and crazy, and it's just, but it's like part of me is just like, yeah, that's normal.
No, see, that's the thing. I think I guess the way my mom presented us, I think, because she's like two of us girls, and then when they separated with my dad, she was so protective. So my mom has always been like very draw the line, even when it comes to like family members. There's a way she dealt with it. I think my mom was like even kind of overly doing it, you know? But there's an incident that happened. I guess my mom wasn't around. So when my mom took us from my dad, it was a kidnap situation. Divorce really does make things go crazy. Anyway, before we went to England, we were staying with like, I guess my mom's friend, and they were a family. And the man of the home, I remember I was watching TV and he came.
So nervous at
I know, I
this
feel so sick. It's not anything like too graphic. Anyway, he put his legs on top of me, and this time I was like 11 years old, and this is like a grown man. So the minute I saw that, I was like, okay, red flag. So I just left.
As an 11-year-old, you thought red flag?
I got up.
You are a smart one.
And I
some
left.
of us have been in dumb situations.
No, I got up and I left immediately because I could just feel like this doesn't feel right. So I went, I left and I went to the bedroom, and then he followed me into the bedroom and he came and he kissed me.
On the lips?
Yes. And guess what? I was sharing a bed with his daughter.
Wait, his daughter was in the bed?
In the bed. And he came and he kissed me. So he's probably done that to her as well, because he didn't seem afraid.
And was she awake?
I don't think so, but I mean, that's pretty ballsy. Anyway, that was like the worst experience like in the whole world. And when I told my mom, like, I didn't feel, my mom I think would have killed him. Like, she wouldn't have cared who it was, even if it was my uncle or whatever. But I felt bad because I felt like she would have wanted to protect me. And I felt like when I told her, I was breaking her heart about her not being able to protect me. Do you see what I mean?
Oh my gosh,
So I see those dynamics of like, with you now, it's like somebody who you know. So like, it's like your mom is in like a really awkward situation because it's somebody who's in the family and they violate someone who's close. But what you tell somebody who's a victim of sexual assault when that person is protected is not worth it. It's not worth any relationship. It just isn't. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter whether it's a dad or an uncle. We Africans need to start learning that that's the end. There's no conversation. You don't come back.
And I wish we could get to that place, but I honestly don't think we're anywhere near that as a society.
We're
like
not.
for people who, if you're like people who sweep things under the rug, like our society is sweep things under the rug kind of thing.
Like us, we literally grew up being told like whatever happens in this house stays in this house.
That's
And like,
so
that was just like, I just knew that from the longest time. Like, you know, especially like being like as a family, like, you know, we're in America and like we're Africans and like my mom is having crazy things with my dad and like, you know, like coming back and forth, blah, blah, blah. So it's just like, you better not do nothing to get us deported or anything like that. Whatever situation is happening in our house stays in our house. And because of that, like I just found like now whenever traumatic things happen to me, it's just like if I sweep it under the rug and like not think about it, it's just like it doesn't matter.
For me, my experience, I think I was like a little bit older than yours. You said you were how old?
Like 20, 21.
Oh, okay, fine. I think I was slightly younger than that. I think I was like 17. No, I think I was 15.
Yeah.
I was 15 and I had just had my first sexual experience. So I had just broken my virginity. And when my mom had been talking to us about like sex, she had always told us, just don't do it. She just said, just don't do it. So I did. So when I broke my virginity, I didn't know, I couldn't talk to her about it. So I didn't want to like now go and start be like, okay, so mom, this happened. So I was just like, okay, let me go to a place where I know. So I went to this, it's a popular place where people associate with I don't know, women, I can't say the brand obviously, but like with like women's health. And it was really close to our house. So I went there and I just walked in. I was really naive. I was just by myself and I said, oh, I just would like somebody to check me because I have gone through this thing and I just want to make sure that I'm okay. Now, so there's a guy who was there who at this point I should have seen this is fishy because he was actually the receptionist.
Oh, God.
So he was the reception. Then he's like, oh, it's okay. I can help you. We just need to perform a little examination. Let's go into this boardroom. So we go into this boardroom and then he's like, oh, just take off your underwear. I can check you and make sure that you're okay. And he did, and then he put his fingers inside me. And he really, at that point I was just like, okay, I guess this is what happens. Because he didn't know. So I was just like, I guess this is what happens. Like he's checking. But he really stayed in there for like a while. And I was just like, is it okay? Then he's like, yeah, I'm just making sure that nothing is hurt and what. So after some time he was just like, okay, yeah, I think you're fine. You're okay. And then I left. And it's only literally like in my 20s that I remember that experience. And I was just like,
that wasn't okay.
Yeah, like it wasn't okay kind of thing,
Yeah, oh my gosh. I mean, this is heavy actually.
It's
I mean, when we were talking about let's share this, it just felt like, oh yeah, sure. Let's start with anybody who's been a victim of sexual assault. Number one, it's not your fault.
At all.
Any situation that you have no consent to, it doesn't matter what. The person, you had the right to say no, and whether or not you are too scared or just too young, like some of us, we didn't know what to do with the situation. It is not your fault. This is another thing I need to say about African homes. We cannot address sexual assault without addressing sexual intercourse. Jo was unable to have a conversation with her mom about sexual intercourse, so she couldn't talk to her mom about sexual assault. If we keep hiding the fact that we are sexually active, we're always gonna sweep under the rug sexual assault, right? Because how are you telling your mom this person has done this to me
when
you're not even supposed to be having sex?
You're not even supposed to be a sexual human being. Like, let's stop stigmatizing sex, because when we hide that, everything involved around sex is also going to be hidden.
Exactly. Now, because we have such little time and I really wish we had so much time. I know. I think let's quickly run through some myths and facts around sexual assault just so that we can clue ourselves up. So the first myth is that only women can be sexually assaulted.
Not true.
That is not true.
That's
exactly.
Not true.
Men can be sexually assaulted as well if you do something that, they do not consent to. The second myth is that women often falsely accuse men of sexual assault just to get attention. That makes me so angry.
No, it's not. There's a percentage, and I think the percentage is about 1%. It's not that they don't, but 1%. So it's better. The same way, like even contraceptives are 99%, but you use them
because they're
99%. So it's better to always believe than to not.
Absolutely, Someone else, another myth rather, is most rapists are strangers, when in fact we know that a lot of time
it's always somebody
somebody who's close to you. Exactly. Another one is that if you're drunk or wearing sexy clothing, you're partly responsible for sexual assault that happens to you.
No.
But I like what you were saying, like when we were having this conversation earlier, that like unfortunately we also have to look at the environment and where we're at. You would love to walk around naked, and it's your right to do whatever you want to do. You're empowered, you're sexual, you're a woman. But let's also be smart and not put ourselves in dangerous situations. We've already all talked about how we've been in a situation where you've been sexually assaulted. So maybe you don't want to be there, like, in a dodgy neighborhood in your skimpiest outfit. Yes, no matter what, no one should do that to you, but don't put yourself in danger.
Exactly.
100%.
You know what, you guys, we can talk about this forever. I'm seeing all the messages on our WhatsApp with so many women talking about all their the experiences they've had with sexual assault. Thank you so much for being brave enough to send us that information.